we've got you covered all season long. Welcome to the BCSN Nation podcast, powered by Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right, here it is. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 11, the Spooktacular version of the BCSN Nation podcast, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings.
Let's go, sports ball.
Be afraid, be very afraid, but not afraid of the podcast. It's playoff time. Gentlemen, do you have a dark horse team ready to roll into the playoffs, a team that's getting hot at the right time? Mason, you're our wonderful guest today. You can go ahead and go first.
Oh, you're too kind. You know what? There isn't one, but there isn't one. You know what I mean? There are so many teams in the area that are playing, I think, some of their best football of the year right now. One that comes to mind, I know we'll talk about it length later, but like Clay's been so good the back half of the season.
Yes.
Whitmer, since the loss at Anthony Wayne, they've been ramping up perfectly the way their schedule's set up to then go to Perrysburg and win and then kind of ease into the playoffs with Northview and Springfield and Findlay back in week 8. They've had 3 get-right games in a row. I feel like they're sitting pretty right now. Ottawa Hills has done so good. There are just so many teams that you could make a case for still being playing in a month's time.
I think a good thing as we roll these playoffs is most of our teams are pretty healthy. Yeah. Aside from, the major injuries we had earlier in the season. Who's your dark horse, Mr. Feldkamp?
Yeah, before I answer that, our well wishes to Mike Robinson, usually sitting where Mason is sitting. He got an opportunity that takes him away from BCSN during the weekday, but our loyal BCSN viewers, he will be on the set on Friday nights during Game Day Nation. So if you want your Mike Robinson fix, tune in on Friday nights at 7 o'clock.
But for now, you'll get Mason and you'll like it.
That's right. So back to the question, dark horse. So you say dark horse, you can't pick a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 seed in my opinion. So I just categorized it as a 5 seed or quote unquote worse. So I'll give you D3 Maumee, 5 seed, playing really well.
I'm in.
They'll be the host for Game Day Tailgate for the first time ever at Kazmaier Stadium. We're looking forward to that.
Don't you worry, people.
I got D2 6 seed Clay. Mason mentioned that and the reasons why. D6, 7 seed Huron. I think they played a tough schedule in the SBC. I think I heard Joel Sebastianelli during Game Day Nation one time. BCSN Erie always delivers when it comes to some great games.
Yes.
And that conference, it's a large conference. It's got the Bay, River, Lake divisions. There's some top competition across the board there. And then lastly, a 10 seed in D2, St. Francis. I think that they are a team to be reckoned with. They got Avon Lake, traditionally a tough team, a tough out in the postseason, but Avon Lake is not Avon.
Perfect, yeah. Plenty to get into today on our playoff spooktacular, as these gentlemen mentioned it. Playoffs coming up. Our Family House Player of the Week, our Game of the Week that Justin just teased, so much more. Make sure you're here every single Wednesday at 4 p.m. for a brand new episode, or go anywhere you listen to your podcast and hit follow on @BCSN Sports on any social media page you stumble across. We're there all throughout the week so you don't miss anything. But now it's Overreactions Wednesday. Normally it's Monday. Obviously, we're here on a Wednesday. So one of my dark horse teams, my dark horse pick right now, aside from Maumee, Ride or Die, is Start. That was their game to get ready into the playoffs, to find their stride, a 48-20 win, upset over Lima Senior, previously unbeaten. Am I overreacting, or is Start ready to roll into the playoffs, Mason?
They're as ready as they're going to be. I mean, you cannot be going into the playoffs on a brighter note than not just beating a Lima Senior team that had dominated basically everybody all year, but to dominate them, to go up 24-0 after 7 minutes or whatever it was, and to almost win that with a running clock, 48-20. That's an insane margin of victory against a great team. Nobody's been able to slow that Lima offense down all year. They don't really have running backs. They just sit back and 5 wide and sling the ball around. To be able to negate a lot of that, force the odd turnover here or there, score at least one defensive touchdown, let Jonah Tall not just rip off a 93-yard run, but it was a 30-yard run, then a 60-yard saunter because he was gone from his own 30-yard line. They're going to be going in as confident as a 13 seed could possibly be. All of those suburban Cleveland teams are so darn good, but Start's going to be ready, and they may have an athleticism edge against them. Marvon Thompson, Jonah Tall, etc. It's going to be fun to follow.
Highsmith stepping into a good role later in the season as well. Their running game has been on fire for the Spartans. Your take, are they hitting their stride at the right time? Obviously, yes, but.
Yes, 100%. I think, City League championship, taking down Lima Senior and all the pub that they had gotten, and Nate James has built a belief in them. I think that they gave Lima Senior all kinds of fits and issues as the offense was looking at Start's defense and changing blitz coverage and changing dropping back and faking blitzes and bringing them back. So that caused confusion for them. And then the firepower that Mason mentioned in the sense that they can break one loose, give me a little narrow window and I'll find the seam. And then Jonah Tall, Marvon Thompson, Preston Edwards, Highsmith. I mean, a bunch of different guys can break one. But North Ridgeville is the team that they're facing now. North Ridgeville is 8-2. Their 2 losses to Avon and Avon Lake. The only win that Start has against a winning team came in Week 10 against Lima Senior. Their 3 losses were to Norwalk, who's 2-8. That's the one that they probably want to have back. But that was in Week 1. Then they lost to Clyde, who's 7-3, and they lost to Anthony Wayne, who's 10-0 and ranked 4th in the state right now. But Start has scored 35-plus points in their last 5 games. So the answer to the question is a resounding yes, and another challenge, a legit challenge. I would argue the toughest challenge of the 11 games that they've played thus far will come on Friday night.
We'll see more of that upcoming D2 bracket, but we're going to stay with one of those D2 teams. We're going to Anthony Wayne for our Player of the Week pick, brought to you by Family House. 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝘶𝗀. Let me see that thing. All right, our Player of the Week, Cam Miller out in White House for A-Dub. Huge performance for Anthony Wayne taking on Perrysburg last week. A 31-14 win, a 55-yard touchdown catch for Cam Miller in that one that put them up 24-14, a springboard. He had a bunch of stops on the defensive end as well. That team is built with guys that get it done on both sides of the ball, and they sure as heck got it done. Clinched an outright Buckeye title last week taking on Perrysburg. Our Family House Player of the Week is Cam Miller. Family House will make it together, and of course, we'll make it together right back after this 30 seconds from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings, buy one, get one free. Boneless Thursdays saved me so much cash. I can finally do everything I've ever wanted in life, like skydiving. You ready? No, this was a mistake, a huge mistake. I want to go back. I want to go back. Go, go, go! Yeah, I'll probably just use the money I saved to get more buy one, get one free boneless wings at B-Dubs. No brainer. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
Let's go sports bar. Let's go playoffs. Let's go brackets. Give me that D1 bracket, Cisco. Throw that thing up there. We've got 3 teams from Division 1 that have made it in Region 1. Previously, they were Region 2 the last few years. Top of that one, Mentor, St. Ignatius. They had a matchup early in the season that Ignatius lost by just 6 points. 1-9 team. And then you've got Whitmer down there as the 2 seed, taking on John Marshall, St. Ed's, and Findlay at the 10 spot there, and then number 3, Perrysburg and Medina. Any of those 3 matchups jump out to you guys? Justin, you go ahead.
All right, so Whitmer the 2 seed, Perrysburg the 3 seed. Looking at the bracket, I'd rather be the 3 seed. Yeah. You might have a tougher first-round matchup. I think Whitmer wins easily over John Marshall.
Sure.
Perrysburg should win over Medina, but then if I'm Perrysburg, I'd rather play Lorraine than Cleveland St. Ed's.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
So St. Ed's doesn't have the record that they have had in recent years as defending state champions, but their schedule is right up there with St. Ignatius in regards to brutality and the gauntlet that they've gone through from August all the way until now. But with our 3 local teams there at the bottom, and obviously I'm not discrediting Findlay. I do think St. Ed's wins rather handily in that matchup at home. Yeah. But all 3 of our teams on the bottom part of the bracket, and then I think you're talking about Mentor at the top. But keep in mind, we have had 1 16 seed beat a 1 seed in the history of the playoffs since it expanded to 16 teams in each playoff region. That's since 2001. So 1-83 record for 16 seeds against 1. However, Cleveland St. Ignatius, as a 16 seed, played Mentor earlier this year, and it was a 1-possession game. So do not be surprised if a 16 seed beats a 1 in this region.
Yeah. The best 1-9 team, maybe of all time, because of the schedule they played. Mason, you got something for D1 before we slide to D2?
Just remember, too, with St. Ignatius, they lost to Central Catholic on a missed extra point earlier this year, too, just to bring it back a little more local.
100%.
And we all know what damage Central Catholic can do. They haven't been as good offensively this year as we're used to seeing, but the fact that they were able to hang that tough with them tells me that's a game they can go out and win. I'm kind of licking my chops already at the thought of a Whitmer-Perrysburg regional semifinal. A lot of work to be done to get to that
Plenty
point.
of steps before.
I mean, St. Ed's will be as dangerous a 7 seed as there is anywhere in Ohio at any division, but I like how it shapes up for our local teams in the bottom half there.
All right, let's see D2 Cisco. There we go. All right, we've got Start. We just talked about taking on North Ridgeville. And then you've got Medina Highland, Fremont Ross making their way in as the 15 seed. St. Francis hitting their stride late in the season, taking on the 7 Avon Lake. A-Dub, Cleveland Rhodes, and then Clay Sandusky, a little Erie and BCSN Toledo area action going on at the bottom side of this bracket. Again, we're loaded on the bottom side of this bracket, which sucks for us to have to see those guys eliminate one another potentially as we move forward.
Yeah, and looking at this one, we're not coaches, so we don't have to take it 1 week at a time. We're looking at the full bracket here. Anthony Wayne versus Clay in the second round. That is juicy, delicious.
Oh, yeah.
You got Mason 𝗦𝗫𝗀 in a star-studded senior class.
Maybe fittingly the 6th seed to match the 𝗦𝗫𝗀 vibes that Clay's giving off.
There we go. Yeah, that's true. And then Anthony Wayne has just showed up to work every single Friday night and has delivered the goods. So hats off to them. An undefeated season. Not the first time Coach Andy Brungard has done that. But we'll dig a little deeper into the playoff scenario for Andy Brungard coach teams. Of course, his first year, they reached the state semifinals. And I think you can make an argument that maybe they've kind of left some stuff on the table when it comes to the postseason in recent years. They have typically played really well. They've played Cleveland Rhodes in the first round before and mopped them out of the playoffs. So it's a matter of how far can Anthony Wayne go, I think, for the Generals is the story there. I already mentioned St. Francis, I think, could get a 10-7 seed upset. I think Fremont Ross will be done after this Friday. But, yeah, Anthony Wayne, I'd say, has the ability to reach Avon in the regional final. I think Avon should not necessarily walk easily, but they should be in the regional final, kind of no questions asked. And then it will be a Medina Highland versus Anthony Wayne in my estimation.
All right, Mason, you were so keen on Central Catholic. We're going to skip D2. Mason's my D3 guy.
All
Cisco,
right.
give me that graphic. There we go. It'll be Central at the top, the 1 seed. Number 5, Maumee. You know I'm ride or die with the Panthers. And then down there at the bottom to Bowling Green taking on Defiance. Mason, what you got?
Now, I think this is a trickier path to a regional final and to another state championship for Central Catholic than they've had. Certainly last year, they blew out a lot of teams that were undermanned athletically. Mansfield Senior, once they got to neutral site games, then Tiffin Columbian, and then, the team that they beat in Northeast Ohio from Youngstown area, and it's totally, memory don't fail me now. At any rate, that Rocky River team, high-octane offense, they have been very, very good so far. Maumee, Rocky River, potentially as that second-round matchup, that could be about as good as it gets. It will be tough for Maumee going on the road. It's never easy when you have to make that long road trip. But that's provided they get by a good Lexington team, who we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
The team that played Central Catholic toughest in their region last year was Defiance. Very early on. They played them very, very tough. Defiance Bowling Green is another one of those under-the-radar, sneaky good games. And I know BG just got pasted 49-0 by Fremont Ross. If you're not used to playing against that offensive style, and I can't speak to the schedule that Defiance has played so far and what kind of offensive schemes they're running, that is so difficult to get ready for on short notice, and more so at the smaller school levels. When you've got, say, a program the size of Perrysburg, your scout team's really good. They can spend a couple weeks learning how to run that flex bone or triple option or whatever. Yeah. When you're a little bit smaller, you can have some difficulty doing that. And every coach has a different way to scheme up defensively for how you play a team like Bowling Green. A lot of coaches just take the football out of the equation altogether, and you're focusing on 11v11. Watch your guy and tackle somebody and hope that that's the guy with the ball. That could be a game that's very close into the second half for sure.
I think that entire region, I think it's all chalk except for I think Maumee can beat Lexington. And I think Maumee can beat Rocky River. So I do see a 5 seed over a 4 seed. But the 8 and 9 seed, that's kind of a coin toss-up. Actually, 8 seeds, 9 seeds have a better record than 8 seeds, 44-40 over the last 4 years. But I see Central and Medina Buckeye in the finals of that region.
All right, that's Region 10 for Division 3. We'll get into the rest of them after we talk about our clip of the week, brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. Cisco, I'm keeping you busy. Hit me with a wipe. We're going to the Village. Kickoff Edon Ottawa Hills last week in the de facto tag title. Reddick Pillarelli being What I said was ridiculous. Down the right sideline. Look at the cavalcade of blockers. If you're Coach Brandon Carter, you got to be thrilled about the guys getting downfield. The black jerseys that are 60 yards, 50 yards into a kickoff return is not something you often see. Usually that's your breakaway around. I'm free of everybody. But the bodies, and they're looking for guys. They're headhunting out there. Let's get Reddick into the end zone for what feels like the millionth time a Pillarelli's touched the end zone for Ottawa Hills this season.
Shiftiness. I love it. That's 85 yards to the house. I love how Ottawa Hills, when you have a culture where you want to help out your brother, that's what, look at this right.
Literally your brother if you're
here,
Reddick
right,
running
look
for the block.
at the distance. That's a good 3.5, 4 yard shift from left to right.
You got Rocco laying blocks.
And you got
there,
everybody.
literally.
When you got more hats, look at the block in the far right. He had no chance of getting, but hey, it's a football field. You can get hit.
Between the whistles.
But this is it's just, we bring it up every single time. Special teams matter. Special teams. This is a one-score game right before halftime.
Man, this really snowballed it.
And this is the way you can break open a game. Special teams. And I like how you have a key contributor, especially at the high school level, obviously a little bit more common than college or the pros, where you don't have a star running back or star wide receiver returning punts or kicks because you can't risk them getting injuries.
Sure.
But you do have it here at the high school level, and especially at D6 where you have players across your roster playing offense, defense, and special teams. And here's a reason why, because this can happen.
Amen. Mason, real quick.
That's a really good Edon team, too. So that's Ottawa Hill's best win of the season by some margin. Fair to say that Reddick and Rocco are pillars of this Ottawa Hills program?
I call him a Maserati, but I'll accept that as well, Mason.
There's
Pillar Ellies of this program,
the 55-14 win for O Hills. They rolled after this kickoff. Their third straight TAC title. You want more highlights just like this? Head over to @BCSN Sports on TikTok. But now, we're going back to White House because why not? Our student section of the week. The Generals are bringing the pride all season. They're taking on Cleveland Rhodes this Friday. We just saw it on that graphic. We'll be there with the belt. Hype for the playoffs. You can't get much more excited than the belt in the playoffs. That's brought to you by Unison Health, a proud sponsor of high school athletics right here on BCSN. But now it's more bracket time. Bracketology BCSN podcast edition. Division 4 is up first. Cisco, you can go throw that thing up on the screen. I'm out of breath because there's so much action that is about to come out. We've got 𝗦𝗍𝗄 and Clyde in this one. They are both down at the bottom of your screen there. Clyde, the 11 seed. You've got Napoleon at 13 making their way into the playoffs. And then Sandusky Perkins from Erie up there as the 1 seed in Division 4, Region 14.
Perkins to the regional finals. I think against Shelby. Huh? Shelby is 10-0, kind of beyond our area, beyond the
just outside the footprint.
Yeah, the DMA. If you want to know about TV lingo, I don't see 𝗦𝗍𝗄 getting past Clyde. I think Clyde could maybe upset Ontario in a 6-3 seed matchup. Napoleon, I think, is going to be done. Kind of, I'd say, a disappointing season for Napoleon with the senior class that they had. You thought that they would maybe challenge in the Cardinal Division, but they lost some unexpected games, I think, this year. But they made the playoffs, and they're going to have to go on the road. But Perkins has one blemish against Edison, who's also a fellow 1 seed in a different division. But Perkins has some elite talent. They got some a Michigan State commit, a Harvard commit, and they just do everything the correct way, and they play on both sides of the ball.
That poor Napoleon team, they had, about a week before the start of the season, one of their starting linebackers get injured in a freak golf cart accident, and it just spiraled. They had a steady stream of injuries all year long. I think that's a big reason why they were 5-5. They were never able to put their best 11 offensive and defensive players on the field, which is a real shame because there's so much talent there. Shelby, nickname, the Whippets.
The Whippets.
Which is one of my favorites. I don't know if they made the Blade poll that they've been doing to figure out the best high school nickname.
That's true.
Should have been up there, even if it is a little bit outside the area. And I'm with Justin. If anybody is going to make kind of a surprising run deep in this region, never, ever bet against the Clyde Flyers. Never bet against them. Their history, their whole tradition is about being really, really good in the playoffs. Even if they're a 6 seed now, don't be shocked if they're playing in a few weeks.
All right, Division 5, we talked about this a couple weeks ago on the podcast, being absolutely loaded. There's a lot of red on there for a reason. Milan Edison up at the top. Delta, Eastwood, Liberty Center, Liberty Benton, Oak Harbor, and Genoa all in the playoffs here in Region 18. A stacked area, Mason.
See, this is one of those areas where I don't mind having 16 teams make the postseason in a region because
those teams deserve it.
You've got teams 11, 12, 13, 6-4 winning record. There's none of this 2-8, 1-9 stuff.
Yeah.
So it's regions like this where you really benefit from that. Edison is obviously the team to beat, but Eastwood, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗁, my beloved Rockets, the Rockets class of 2007, they could very easily match up with Genoa again and play in another Celestial Bowl in the postseason, which they play for that trophy every year. This is as loaded and stacked. Liberty Center, Liberty Benton, and on and on. Man, I wish more of these teams or any of these teams were genuinely within our footprint so that we could cover a lot of these, because I'm kind of rubbing my hands together thinking about some of these matchups.
Yeah, you could throw Archbold in there of the NWAL as a red team on there as well. I think this is Liberty Center versus 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗵 in the regional semifinals, a rematch of the regional semifinals last year in which Liberty Center won 45-14. I've been told that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗵 is better than they were last year, and I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And depending on who you talk to, you could say that Liberty Center is better or worse than they were last year. But, yeah, Liberty Center made it to the state championship game last year, and I don't bet against Liberty Center. So I see them getting to the finals against Milan Edison in this one. And I could see a potential upset with a 5-seed Eastwood. Eastwood's the only team who has taken 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to the wire. And I'll see if Eastwood and Edison in the regional semis.
All right, we'll quickly get to Division 6 because we got a game of the week to talk about, too. Patrick Henry, Evergreen, Ottawa Hills also live. We talked about O-Hills. Plenty of action to be played for these on Friday. That 3-seed O-Hills, Coach Brandon Carter and company looking to make their way through the Division 6. We've only got so much time, and we've got to get to our game of the week, brought to you by none other than Dunn Chevy in Oregon. Cisco, wipe it. All right, the first time ever Justin talked about at Kazmaier Stadium, getting game day tailgate. The boys will be out there for 12 Lexington, 5 Maumee, the 8-2 Panthers on a 5-game streak after those losses in the NBC to Eastwood and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who you just saw on that Division 5 side of things. But Lexington 5-5 record may be deceiving. They started 0-3 and have rolled to a 5-2 record since then, and they're moving things well. But Cody Wolf, Ben Kubicks and the company are absolutely stellar on the offensive side of things, and that's not to talk away from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and other guys too.
I mean, this is the biggest football game that Maumee's played in 15 years. They haven't hosted a playoff game since 2010. Yeah. This is a huge deal for the whole community. The buzz has been building all year. But you're right to point out, this Lexington team, you're right, 5-5 is deceiving. The Ohio Cardinal Conference is very tough. They took Ashland, who's 10-0, into the fourth quarter last week. They only lost by 9, and they have maybe the most impressive single player in Region 10. Certainly right up there with Victor Singleton. It's a guy named Braden Fogel. He's a 6'5", 230-pound tight end. Just got offered by South Carolina the other day. He has offers from Georgia and Michigan. And
safe to say he'll be a problem.
He will be a problem. He's absolutely blowing up. They've got a quarterback who's similarly sized, who also starts at outside linebacker. The issue they've had this year, despite a really good quarterback and tight end, they struggle to score. They're only averaging about 20 points a game. They can't get into a shootout with Maumee. And Maumee, offensively, they've been exceptional all year, and they're so diverse. It starts with Cody Wolf, but they got big play wideouts and all this. And the other thing, Lexington's wins, of the 5, 4 of them have come against teams with 2 wins or fewer. Okay. So they're going to be coming into a really tough environment, and it's going to have to be a slugfest. They're going to need to control the football for long stretches, play ball control offense, and hope they can keep Maumee quiet. I don't know if they can.
First time in the playoffs since 2020. Coach Karchner's talked about how grateful he was for seniors buying into this turnaround. Now they get a home playoff game.
So if you think it's raucous at Kazmaier Stadium when the team is 0-10,
which I do,
it is going to be crazy on Friday night. On top of the fact that it's the game of the week, tailgate's there. They're going to show up and show out. We're looking forward to that. Slight correction, Mason. First home playoff game since 2009. Their last playoff win was in 2010 when they played Avon Lake both times, lost in 2009, then avenged that loss at Avon Lake in 2010.
Their only ever road playoff win.
And Coach Evan Karchner was on that team. He played on that team. So the storylines galore with the Panthers. But Lexington has a solid defense. Yes, they haven't had great wins, but 12 5-seed matchup, in the men's and NCAA tournament for women's hoops as well. This is the classic
scary
upset seed. It can apply to this game as well. But the 11 seniors that Maumee have, Cody Wolf, Tristan Dotson, Carson Grades, Keyshawn Midcalf, Donovan Mays, Espen Hurt, Pierce Simpson, just to name a few of them.
Yeah.
They got to relish this opportunity at home, assuming the seeds hold on the other part of the bracket. This will be their last home game, so they're going to have to be ready to rock on Friday night. But they have what it takes. They hit their stride. They battled Eastwood. They lost to Oak Harbor in the midpoint of the season, but they're hitting their stride. I see them getting a win, but this could be a fourth quarter game.
You talk about the culture shift in Maumee. You know I've been ride or die. Anybody who's listening to this podcast, I'm all Maumee all the time. But the guy that defines that whole thing to me is Cody Wolf. Watching the way he runs with the ball, watching the way he plays defense. He was our collision of the week, brought to you by White Family Collision last week on Game Day Tailgate, or on Game Day Nation, because he just plays both sides of the ball. He's flying all over the place. He runs with power. He runs with speed. Had an 83-yard touchdown catch last week, too. That's the guy in my eyes when I watch Maumee football that defines this turnaround that Coach Karchner has brought to this program, that senior class has brought to this program. We want to know who you think is going to win. I hope you're all betting Maumee, because I am too. Over on our Game of the Week poll on X, that ends tomorrow, Thursday at noon. Well, that'll be on BCSN Plus app this Friday at 7 p.m. But now we're going back in time, closer to that last Maumee win time era for one of our top athletes of the BCSN era, and that is Jackson Lamb, north of the border at Bedford, a star on the basketball court, on the baseball team, and he's their all-time leading scorer on the basketball court. This is the Gatorade Michigan High School Player of the Year and co-Mr. Baseball, three-time first-team All-State, career .516 batting average his senior season, 9-0, 1.12 ERA, 90 strikeouts. And then he headed north to Michigan, had 45 career appearances and a 1.21 ERA with 14 saves, 2017 first team All Big Ten, drafted 2 times to the major leagues, and then injuries derailed some things. He decided to retire and not take that trip to the majors, but that is one of our top athletes of the BCSN era. Justin, I know you got to talk to him earlier this year during this story.
Yeah, he is a guy who knows where he came from, and I always appreciate that about any individual, especially with sports heroes, if you will, where they don't forget where they came from. And Bedford and Coach 𝗏𝗏, and he's helping out with the varsity baseball program now with the Kicking Mules. And to do what he did on the mound and to do what he did on the court, he got college basketball scholarship offers as well. And it's one of those unfortunate situations where you have the injuries that just plague. It's one thing to have a single injury and come back from it, but when is it a series of injuries, it just kind of plagues you, and it just takes your inner morale down, and that is kind of what he dealt with. But he is at peace with it. He's told me he doesn't regret anything, and he's putting his best foot forward in his professional career now. In the workforce and with the baseball team now at Bedford.
Yeah, he's a Toledo firefighter now. And in fact, it was so cool in the Battle of the Badges a couple years ago, seeing him just hit absolute bombs at Fifth Third Field, lifting softballs
not fair.
Over the Jumbotron. It was amazing. It was so cool to see.
We'll be right back with more upcoming games and stuff after 30 seconds from Buffalo Wild Wings.
I've saved so much money enjoying Buffalo Wild Wings BOGO half-off traditional wing Tuesdays. I can finally afford everything I've ever wanted in life. Wings. All I ever wanted was more wings. So yeah, buy one, get one half off traditional wings is the perfect deal for me and my lifetime yearnings. I value it more than literally anything. Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go sports bar.
At participating locations, not valid with other offers or discounts. See website or app for details.
All right, you guys know the drill. We're closing the show with the upcoming games. Everything rolling out this Friday. We've talked about a lot of these matchups already. Game Day Tailgate taking over to Kazmaier Stadium with Lexington Maumee, Sandusky, Clay, Medina, Perrysburg, St. Francis at Avon Lake. You've got Start at North Ridgeville, BG Defiance, Crestview, Ottawa Hills. Real quick, one of these matchups that stands out to you, Mason.
Well, other than Maumee Lexington, which we've talked about, that Clay Sandusky game, 6-11. Clay won 38-21 back in week 1. Clay has only gotten better since then. Mason Heinschel is running more. Landon Eversman is running a lot more effectively. They are a little bit more of a balanced offense than they were at that time. We'll see if Sandusky's made some of the same improvements.
Camp.
I want to see Ottawa Hills show up and dominate. I think they're capable of doing so. Yeah. We didn't get too much time to talk about the Division 6 region in which Ottawa Hills is in. I see a rematch between Bluffton and Ottawa Hills. Maybe Ottawa Hills can avenge a 34-0 loss in the playoffs to that team last year. But in addition to Game Day Nation and Tailgate, Walleye also on the
fish
ice
are back,
at
baby.
home.
Yes.
Fish, our fight at home on Friday night on BCSN. And then we got hockey and football for you.
Plenty going on this Friday. Make sure you follow
Get on
at
it.
𝗵𝗏𝗏 BCSN, at Justin Feldkamp, at BCSN Sports, and be right here next Wednesday as we recap round 1 and get you ready for round 2 right here on the BCSN Nation podcast. Make sure you catch us anywhere you get your podcast, or just be right here at 4 o'clock, because why not? We're already here. We're waiting for you. And it'll be no more Halloween Spooktacular, but
We'll see you next week.